Hi, LAS 100. I'm really excited about our work together this week. First, thank you for your great discussion board post from last week. I'm loving hearing what you have to say about liberal and conservative, and I hope we can keep working with those terms and understanding how they affect our ways of thinking about what's going on in our world today and our ways of thinking about March. So don't forget about what you said in those posts. We're going to keep working with that. We're going to carry that forward. So for this week, you're going to be reading and annotating the book. So I hope you have it. If you Google it, you might be able to find a PDF of it online, and I think you can also get it in the Mercer Library, but hopefully you have a paper copy by now. So one of your assignments for this week is to read, I think, books 1 through 9 and annotate. So by annotating, I mean you're interacting with the text. You're not really like looking for main ideas or vocabulary necessarily. You're reacting to it. You're asking questions about it. You're thinking about what's being said there. You're thinking about what you understand and what you don't understand. And you might be reacting to the words and the images. So really you're just writing all over the text. For annotations, quantity is more important than quality because it's that connection that you're making with the text that is really important more than like doing it right. And it'll probably take a while for us to get used to annotating a visual text like this. So try it out, play with it. The skill that you're learning here is annotating, which hopefully you've been doing already in college. Annotating is really important to your success in college because it helps you remember what you read. It helps you process what you read. And in this case, I'm really excited for you to be figuring out how to annotate this kind of visual text, this kind of text that's different from other things you're reading, because doing that, learning how to annotate in a way that's useful for you is also very important in how you continue on through college. So that's one thing we're doing this week. And then the other thing we're doing this week is a discussion board post where we're focusing on how we use history to get more insight into this text. So what I'd like you to do is look up something related to the text. So one, as you're annotating, you should be keeping an eye out for things that you want to learn more about. And you're going to look up something like maybe it would be John Lewis. There's a whole list in the discussion in the lesson. No, oh my goodness, in the week 2 folder, there's instructions for how to annotate, and there's discussions for the discussion board, and there's a whole list of things there you might look up. That you might look up John Lewis himself, or you might look up Emmett Till, which is referred to. You might look up segregation or any one of a number of things. So, for example, I have here up on the screen images from segregation because for me, I find it incredible that segregation ended so recently, and that knowledge to me like changes the way I think about the world. So a lot of times people will say things like racism is over, and I think, how can racism possibly be over? We didn't end segregation until 1964. History, like cultures don't change that fast. And when I think about the psychological impacts that segregation had, and then on people living under it, and remember, it wasn't only Black people who were segregated, it was people of all different races who were separated out. And then when I think how we're still segregated, our neighborhoods, our schools, our workplaces are still segregated, and to me, what I keep thinking about is how that segregation is so intentional and so divisive and so much keeps a deeply racist system in place. So that for me is like what I keep thinking about in relation to segregation. You might look up something else. And by looking it up, here's what I mean, or sources you might use. I'm asking you to use 2 sources in this discussion board. And by sources, that's really, really wide open. You can use websites, just make sure that they're pretty reliable. As I said, you can use Wikipedia, but there's lots of news sites and like encyclopedia sites and things like that that you can use. Just be aware of where you're getting your information from and ask questions if you're not sure. You can use YouTube videos. Again, be aware of where they're coming from. There's a lot of just useless stuff out there on the internet. You can use books, you can use TV, you can use movies, you can use really anything you want. So for example, John Oliver, who I love, has an episode about school segregation that we'll probably watch later when we talk more about education specifically, right? That would be a good source. Now, John Oliver, however, would be a biased source. John Oliver definitely leans left, right? And you can use sources like that in this research. You don't have to try and find like unbiased sources because there aren't many, but just read them critically, read them and ask questions. Know that, okay, I'm looking at a comedian, first of all, who has a very left bias. So I'm going to be skeptical about the information I'm seeing here, and I'm going to ask, what is he not saying? How is he presenting this in a particular way? How might somebody argue against him? So that you get that you're thinking critically about the sources that you're using. So as you're doing this research, it's not so much that you're looking for perfect, unbiased sources, but that you're thinking carefully about the sources that you use. And the purpose of this is one, just so that you know how to use the internet well. Like, it's an amazing tool. Let's use it. Those of you who have ever gone down a Wikipedia rabbit hole know that you can come out feeling a lot smarter. I myself was reading about Einstein's theory of general relativity this morning. It was awesome. But also because so it helps you be a better thinker, it helps you be smarter, but also being able to do that kind of critical research is a really important college skill. So that's it for this week. Please be in touch if you have any questions. I'm going to keep reading your discussion boards, and I can't wait to see you in class.